This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America. It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start Spreading the News, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start Spreading the News.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, yes, let's start spreading the news. This is Paul Semendinger. This is the Start Spreading the News podcast. I'm flying solo today. No EJ, it's just me. I'm actually recording this program. We are not live this week. This is being recorded on Sunday night. Just a quick reminder that this program is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. Artemisia can be found at apbooks.net. Artemisia is a traditional independent publisher located in the United States of America. They have published countless books, a plethora of books in many different genres, just fantastic books, one after the next. Many award winners, including many books written by me, such as Scattering the Ashes, a wonderful novel about hope, family, love, faith, and so much more. There's also my wonderful book, 365.2, Going the Distance, A Runner's Journey. That book is the story of my 2022 life when I ran every day for a year and made some momentous decisions and had important things happen around me. And through it all, I said, I need to run every single day for a year. It was a goal that I just had in my head as something I should do. And I did it, but it wasn't without difficulty. And if you have difficulties in your life, you might want to check that book out, 365.2, Going the Distance. Of course, Artemisia Publishing also published The Great From Compton to the Bronx by Roy White with me, and the award-winning The Least Among Them, which is one of the most wonderful books that's on the Yankees, telling great big Yankee stories and also telling stories of the 29 players who played on the Yankees for just one day. So we're going to break down the Yankees series a little bit about against the Dodgers that just ended a few minutes ago. The Yankees won Game 3. They lost the first two games. They won the third game. If you go to Start Spreading the News, let's get that banner back up. So if you go to Start Spreading the News, I had an article earlier today called Perspectives. And in that article, I talked about some Yankee things. I also wrote the game summary, which was published at 6 a.m. today, both of these talking about Monday, June the 2nd. And I also made some points about the game there. The Yankees had a big lead, and For a moment, Jonathan Loaisiga came in. It was about 6-1. Loaisiga came in, gave up a couple of home runs. That made it 6-3. And it looked for a moment that the Yankees might somehow blow this. But Loaisiga got out of the inning. That was the 7th. Devin Williams pitched a great 8th. Tim Hill pitched a great 9th. DJ LeMahieu had 4 hits somehow, drove home 2 runs, gave the Yankees another insurance run in the top of the 9th, and they won going away 7-3. I don't really believe that games in June, when you're talking about the best teams, or even any team really, have an impact on games in September or October when the teams might meet again in the playoffs or the World Series or whatever. I think if your team makes it to the playoffs, you're not saying, well, they beat us 5 months ago or 4 months ago or even a month ago. These are professional athletes. They believe they can win every game. I'm not a professional athlete, yet I believe when I go out on the mound and I pitch that I can get those guys out. I believe I'm better than them. That's just the way athletes think. I don't go out on the mound thinking I'm going to lose. And the Yankees don't go out on the field against the Dodgers saying they beat us last year. They're going to beat us now. That's not how it works. Now, sometimes that's the result, but that's not how it works. But all that being said, I think the Yankees could have been in trouble if they had lost this game last night after getting ahead. And they were ahead on Friday night. They blew the lead with their ace pitcher. If it happened again after getting blown out on Saturday, if it happened again on Sunday, that would have just been a portent of possible bad things to come. It would have seemed like, hey, here we go again. The Yankees seem to have this June swoon. They seem to fall apart a little bit as June marches on and the Yankees get into the heat of the summer into July and August. That's happened the last many years, and they don't need any help getting there. The idea is I hope that doesn't happen. And if they had blown a second lead and lost to the Dodgers, I fear that could have been the impetus to make that happen. But they didn't lose. And so it's a moot point, but one that I think resonates in a lot of Yankees' heads, this trepidation. Even though the Yankees are playing great and they're running away right now with the American League East, they have a nice big lead. The other teams don't look good at all. And the Yankees are winning a lot. I still think a lot of fans are waiting for the other shoe to fall. So I think one of the reasons is because a lot of Yankee fans have lost faith in the decision-making. DJ LeMahieu came back. Okay, good for DJ. And again, he had 4 hits last night, so kind of silly that I'm going to go on a DJ LeMahieu discussion here, but he came back and they put him at second base. I have no problem with that. That's his natural position. The guys who were playing there, Oswald Peraza, Yorbit Vivas, and Pablo Reyes, none of them were doing any good. So why not throw DJ out there and see what happens? But in the meantime, Jazz Chisholm is going to come off the injured list. And instead of putting the more athletic, better player at second base, the guy whose skills totally outshine DJ LeMahieu's, instead of putting him where he's really shown this year, shined, where he's really been special, instead of putting him there, they're now talking about putting him at third base. That's making the Yankees less athletic at third because it's not Chisholm's position, and at second because Chisholm would be better there than DJ LeMahieu, who's 36 or 37 years old. It's just bad strategy. And then they're talking about Giancarlo Stanton coming back. He's just weeks away, we keep hearing. One reason the Yankees have been so successful is they have these young kids who are very athletic on every side of the game. They're fast. They run well. They take the extra base. They're doing well hitting. They play pretty good defense outside maybe of Jason Dominguez, who is a little bit still of an adventure every time out there in left field. But a strong athletic team is exciting and fun to watch. And if you start taking the athletic players and sitting them down for old guys who aren't as athletic and don't do the job as well, you're just asking for the team to take a tailspin. You're asking for a disaster of sorts. DJ LeMahieu's not taking the extra base on a single. Jason Dominguez is. Oswald Peraza is. Ben Rice is. Ben Rice has, I think, 12 home runs now. If you saw the game yesterday, he hit an absolute bomb to dead center field. He crushed it. This is a young kid with a future. You don't sit Ben Rice so that Giancarlo Stanton can get some at-bats. Stanton can't run. He hasn't run for years. We've seen this. This isn't to take anything away from Giancarlo Stanton's legacy. It doesn't take anything away from how he did in the playoffs last year. But the Yankees need to get younger and stay younger and play kids who are performing like Ben Rice, who have a future. Not playing guys whose future is no longer, because their great years are long behind them. What you don't want to do is take this Yankee team, which is rolling, and upset the apple cart by putting in players who are past their prime. And again, I'm a big Giancarlo Stanton fan. I was so happy when the Yankees got him, and I've never backed away from that. I wish he had been a greater and healthier player, but I was all for that deal. So, and I've had fun with Giancarlo Stanton and my son. We enjoyed him when he was, I think it was the Jimmy Kimmel show or one of those guys. And, you know, he ate the Kit Kat by just taking a bite and not breaking it into pieces. That was something that connected Ethan and I, my youngest son, when he was away at college. We'd get Kit Kats when Giancarlo Stanton homered. Other people have taken that idea that we invented and adopted it for themselves, eating Kit Kats whenever Giancarlo Stanton homers. They should really do that and say thank you. That was Paul Semendinger's idea. That's what they should do instead of saying it's their idea. I should get gratuities or something. I should have trademarked it. Of course, this is all in jest, but yeah, so we have fun with Giancarlo Stanton, but that doesn't mean he's the player who should be playing at the expense of a younger, more athletic kid like Ben Rice, who's doing great. You know, and that's sports, that's life. Sometimes a younger guy comes along and he takes the job from the older guy. You know, one of the other good things, and we're going to talk about good things, Ryan Yarbrough. My goodness. That was a tough game to pitch last night. You're a relief pitcher. You don't really start. They threw you in the rotation because there was nobody else. And boy, has he risen to the occasion. He looked great again last night. So on Start Spreading the News earlier today, he was the player of the game from last night. I think it has to be him. He's been very impressive. Now, Aaron Judge had a couple of home runs on Saturday, didn't do as much on Sunday. And so he's hitting in the 390s right now. I asked the question in the perspectives piece, what would be more exciting? Aaron Judge having a 400 batting average or a 500 on base percentage? Could you imagine if Aaron Judge gets on more than half of the time he gets to the plate? That'd be amazing. I still think a 400 batting average, though, there's more mythology around the 400 batting average. The 500 on base percentage is probably more impressive overall, but there's not the mythology about a 500 on base percentage. I don't know who the last player to have a 500 on base percentage would have been. Might have been Barry Bonds. But everybody knows who the last 400 hitter was. And so 400 is more mystical. There's mystique around it. It's more special. One of the silly things, though, that you hear, and it's been parroted by numerous Yankee commentators and writers, and by the manager himself, I think, is that somehow they're saying Aaron Judge hasn't really hit his peak this year. He hasn't found his groove. Now, let's just stop and think about that. The guy's hitting 390. He has already over 20 home runs. Before the game yesterday, they mentioned all of the numbers that he's going to have 242 hits if he keeps his current pace up. He's going to get close to 400. He's going to have 60 home runs. And then they're saying, well, you know, he hasn't hit his stride yet. He hasn't gotten in a groove. Do you see the disconnect here? He's almost hitting 400, and he's on pace to have another 60 home run season. And they're going, yeah, I don't think he's quite where he should be. Really? That's just lunacy. It's idiocy. It just makes no sense. Of course he's in a good groove. Look at his numbers. It's just silly. When I hear people say ridiculous things, you just have to call them out because it's ridiculous. Something else that's ridiculous when you watch a baseball game is when they interview the manager during the game. I think one thing that it does is it makes the game seem much too relaxed. Like you're the manager and maybe you have time to talk to an announcer, but don't you at least want the perception to be that the manager has more important things to do than do a TV interview? Don't you at least want there to be that kind of mythology? Oh, no, yeah, the manager's got plenty of free time. It's the middle of the game. It's in between innings. Things are supposed to be happening. But he's got time to talk to the guy, Buster Only or whomever, about the game. That's bad enough. There used to be like a wall between, and I liked it that way, between the announcers and the game. And the game is happening and they're commenting on the game that's happening. The announcers aren't part of it. They're not inserting themselves into the game, but that's what they do now. It seems silly. I find it silly. And then the other part is maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe there's times when unbelievable things are said, but every time I have ever heard a manager talk to a reporter during a game, and even after games, of course, 99 times out of 100, probably more, they don't say anything of value. So I turn off the sound because I just can't listen to people saying things that are meaningless. But I heard the sound in the beginning, and Buster Only asked Aaron Boone, Well, you've gotten to Yoshi Yamamoto. I mean, you've gotten to him. What do you think? Yoshinobu Yamamoto. You've gotten to him. What do you think? And the answer was, yeah, well, we're working counts. We're right in this thing. We've had strong at-bats. I really like their approach. You know, like, what are they saying? What is the manager saying that no one else realizes is happening at that moment? You know, I really like the way he's swinging. Well, tell me about Ryan Yarbrough. What do you think about his pitching? Oh, he's locating well. I like his command. He's hitting spots. You know, he's getting strike one. He's getting ahead of the hitters. Then when they're not, well, he needs to get ahead of the hitters better. He needs to change his approach. They're just saying talking points. That's every single time they talk to the managers. You know, they just have to do what they have to do. You know, I appreciate their hustle. They're not saying anything. So why break down that barrier, and why give this perception that the manager has nothing better to do when he's trying to run a game than talk to a reporter? It adds nothing to the telecast. All it does is distract. Even worse is when they talk to the players. So, Bob, what were you thinking, you know, over the winter because your team won the World Series? How amazing was that? What's he going to say? Yeah, no, it was pretty terrible. We won the World Series. It was awful. Everybody was so happy. We did what we set out to do. What are they supposed to say? It must have been an amazing offseason. Yeah, it was. It was great. We won the World Series. How is that compelling? There's nothing compelling about that. And again, I don't want my player or any player being distracted talking in some earpiece to some guy in a radio or television booth when he's supposed to be focused on the game. It adds nothing to the game. It only takes away. And I wish they would just stop that kind of nonsense. All right. Some other thought, bigger thought. June 2nd, 1941 is the day Lou Gehrig died. I read somewhere, someone made a point, I wish I could remember who, that stated that Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, which of course now has his name, the fact that he died from ALS distracts fans from understanding how great of a player he was. Now, I love that Major League Baseball honors Lou Gehrig every June 2nd. I think it's very fitting. And I love that baseball raises money for ALS. It's a terrible disease. And if we can do anything to eradicate it and find a cure, that would be amazing. It would be wonderful if nobody ever suffered from ALS ever again. And I'm glad Major League Baseball does what it can to raise money and awareness to help those causes and to help the people suffering from ALS today. So I think all of that is great, and I hope they celebrate Lou Gehrig every June 2nd forever. Lou Gehrig is a true hero. You know, I always say when I talk about Lou Gehrig, when I do book talks, library talks, when I meet various people at various places, and I used to tell this to the second graders in my school. You know, Lou Gehrig played every single game from like 1925 into 1939. He never missed a game. They called him the Iron Horse, which is what you would have called back in the 1920s and 30s a big, gigantic steam engine. Like when you think of the most powerful thing in the world at the time, it would have been a big, giant, powerful steam engine, an iron horse. And that's the nickname they gave Lou Gehrig, because that's what he was. He just kept going. And then he was struck down in the prime of his career by this terrible disease. And the Yankees then honored him on July 4th, 1939, the year he came out of the lineup, just a couple of months earlier. They honored him. And he said some of the most amazing words anyone has ever said, because I think most people in that moment would say, you know, it's pretty bad. This is really the worst thing ever. I wish this hadn't happened to me. But Lou Gehrig didn't say anything like that. He looked around at a packed Yankee stadium, and instead of complaining, he set the standard for dignity and class by saying, today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. And he said, I might have been given a bad break, but I have an awful lot to live for. That's just amazing. It's amazing. And I love how baseball honors Lou Gehrig every year. I love how Lou Gehrig stepped up, and instead of complaining about his plight, which I probably would do if I was in that situation, had I been Lou Gehrig, I think that's the natural tendency for almost every single human being ever in that situation. And instead, he rose above it. Just amazing. And again, I hope baseball continues to raise money for ALS. I hope they do everything they can to support people and make their suffering with ALS less, however they can. And I think it's necessary that we honor a player like Lou Gehrig for rising above his own plight and saying how lucky he was, and looking around at the world and saying, I'm so fortunate that I had a chance to do this for a living. Really, it's an amazing story. But how I started was, I think we've lost focus, so many, on what a great player Lou Gehrig was. I think we can celebrate his dignity and his wonderful speech and raise money for ALS awareness, while also still remembering that he was a heck of a ball player. Just going to go through some of this. In 1926, he led the league as a 23-year-old in triples. In 1927, he led the league in games. He led the league in games almost every single year because he played every single game. Some years the Yankees, because of rainouts and such, didn't play as many games as the other teams. But in 1927, he led the league in games, in doubles, and in runs batted in, and in total bases. In 1928, he led the league in doubles and RBIs and on-base percentage. In 1929, he didn't lead the league in any category. Yeah, what a bad year. He hit 300 with 35 homers, 125 runs batted in. He scored 127 runs. He had 32 doubles, 10 triples. His OPS was 1.015. His OPS plus was 166, and he had 7.5 WAR. That was 1929. The next year, he leads the league in games played, plate appearances, and runs batted in again, as well as total bases. How many RBIs did Lou Gehrig have in 1930? Oh, just 173. So what does he do the next year? He ups his RBI total to 185. He leads the league in RBIs, home runs, hits, runs, plate appearances. and total bases. 1932, he leads the league in games. Oh, that's it. But he only had 8.2 WAR that year. Yeah, down year again for Lou. He hit 349 with 34 homers and 151 runs batted in. Oh, yeah, he had 42 doubles, 9 triples. Is that crazy? I mean, this guy was a monster. He was one of the great hitters of all time, and I just don't think people remember this. That's why I'm going through this. In 1933, he led the league in runs scored with 138. In 1934, he led the league in WAR with 10, games 154, homers 49, runs batted in 166. He led the league in batting average 363, on base percentage 465, slugging 706, OPS 1.172, OPS plus, they didn't have that, of course, back then, but 207, and total bases 409. That was his age 31 season in 1934. 1935, he leads the league in runs with 125 and walks with 132 and on base percentage. 1936, he again leads the league in WAR. Again, they didn't have that stat back then with 9.7. He leads the league in games, 155. He scores 167 runs to lead the league, and he has 49 more home runs. 130 walks, both leading the league, leads the league in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS plus. It's just crazy. Then 1937 comes. He leads the league in games played and walks and on-base percentage and OPS plus. And then 1938, he leads the league in games played. Listen to his numbers in 1938 after all those great years. He actually has a down year. He's 35 years old, and it's without a doubt that ALS is already beginning to take away some of his skills because it's a disease that takes away your athleticism and your ability to function physically, obviously. He still has 4.6 WAR. He has 689 plate appearances. He scores 115 runs. He has 170 hits, 32 doubles, 6 triples, 29 homers. He still drives home 114 runs. He still walks 107 times, but he batted only 295. He slugged only 523. His OPS was only 932. His OPS plus was only 132. That's Lou Gehrig with the initial impact of ALS on his body. That he was able to overcome whatever was starting to happen to him to put up a year like that. The next year, he couldn't do it anymore. 1939, he played in only 8 games. He batted only 143. It was over. And he took himself out of the lineup. And then he found out he had ALS. And then he considered himself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. And he said, I might have been given a bad break, but I have an awful lot to live for. My goodness. Lou Gehrig, a true baseball hero. A dignified player, a workman who went to work every single day and played every single day. 2,130 consecutive games. He also never missed a game in the playoffs. There were no playoffs, but the postseason. In the World Series, he played every World Series game all the years the Yankees went to the World Series, to add on to his 2,130 consecutive games. Just amazing. Lou Gehrig. It's wonderful that we celebrate him today and use his legacy to continue to help other people. So that's something that Major League Baseball and the Yankees are doing right. So the Yankees, no more West Coast games. That's a great thing. I hate when the Yankees play on the West Coast because I go to sleep. I miss those games. There's nothing that would frustrate me more than to stay up late, 1 o'clock in the morning, only to see the Yankees lose. Why? I'd rather be sleeping, but I don't like missing the games, as I miss games all the time for all sorts of things. I'm a busy person. But I don't like when I can't even consider watching the game because it's on so late at night. So I'm like, I'm not watching this. I'm not going to stay up till 10 o'clock for the first pitch. Are you kidding? So the good news for 2025 is until they get to the playoffs of the World Series, the Yankees will not be playing on the West Coast. So there'll be no more of those super late start times. So that makes me happy. The Yankees, of course, are off tonight. They get a day off to fly back home across the entire country. The Cleveland Guardians come in to play 3 in Yankee Stadium on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then finally, into June. It's into June before it finally happens. But finally, we get a Yankee Red Sox series. It's always fun when the Yankees play the Red Sox. Right now, the Red Sox, I don't think, are in the Yankees class. I don't think the games really matter. There's not that tension. 2 great teams battling it out, interdivision rivalry and all that kind of stuff. But it's still always fun when the Yankees play the Red Sox. So it took a long time this year before the Yankee-Red Sox series began. That's because with this new schedule from the last few years, every team has to play every other team. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather you play your rivals like the Red Sox and the Orioles and the Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays, the guys in your division. I'd rather them play more games against them. I think a Yankee-Red Sox series is much more compelling than a Yankee-Brewer series or a Yankee-San Diego Padres series or a Yankee-Pittsburgh Pirates series. I don't think any of that's necessary. I understand why they do it, because you want the Yankees, if you're another team, to come into your stadium as often as they can because they sell the places out. But I think for the good of the sport, the actual gameplay and the actual interest in truly winning a division and have a true pennant race, it's better when the teams are playing each other a lot more. I'd rather see the Yankees play the Red Sox than the Yankees play the Rockies. All right, my friends, I'm going to cut it short a little bit tonight. We did a lot. I had a lot to share with you. There's always more. Go to startspreadingthenews.blog. Always great articles there. We put articles on Start Spreading the News every single day. We've been doing this since 2017. There's articles every single day at 6 a.m., 10 a.m., and 2 p.m. When there's a game, there's the game thread. There's the quick hit after the game. And then we start it up all the next day. And that's the minimum. Sometimes we even put up extra bonus articles in between all of that. And you get it all for free. And the site isn't littered with advertisements. These are things you really don't get anywhere else. Nobody else is putting up that much content for free. Or if they are, I don't know about it. And if they are, it's probably not of the quality that we produce. And giving it to everyone for free every single day. A great collection of writers. It's really the premier Yankees site on the internet. That's startspreadingthenews.blog. Again, we've been doing it every single day by and large. There have been some technical issues, I think 2 or 3 years ago. We changed the website a couple of years ago, and so it was down for a day or two while we made the transition. But by and large, every single day since 2017, we've been putting out that much content. And it's all great. So check us out. And again, check out Artemisia Publishing at apbooks.net. We'll put that little logo up there so you can see it. Check out their many books. A wonderful independent publisher. they're also going to be publishing my next Yankees book, which comes out next February. More details on that, of course, to come, but it's still a ways away, so we'll leave it as a mystery. My dear friends, have yourselves a wonderful night. Have yourselves a wonderful week. Thank you for watching. Let's go Yankees.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.